guys, it's Alicia. Now, since moving to Virginia 3 years ago, I've become really fascinated with Civil War history, and so I've been checking out a lot of the different locations that are close by me or somewhat close by me, and just learning a lot about the history. And one of the places that my family and I wanted to go to was Manassas National Battlefield Park, and that is what this video is on. We actually took this trip May of 2019, so we're coming up on a year since we were here, so I thought it was time to get this video up. We also checked out the Marine Corps Museum when we were in this area, and I do have videos on that I will link down below and up above if you're interested in that. Manassas National Battlefield Park is a part of the National Park Service. It is located in Prince William County, Virginia, just north of Manassas. And this park preserves the site of two major American Civil War battles, the First Battle of Bull Run and the Second Battle of Bull Run, or also known as the First Battle of Manassas and the Second Battle of Manassas. This is also the location where Confederate General Thomas J. Jackson got his nickname Stonewall. This park was established in 1940 and is listed in the National Register of Historic Places. Admission into the park is free. We started our tour right here at the Henry Hill Visitor Center. Now, this visitor center is open from 8:30 to 5 p.m. daily and is only closed on Thanksgiving and Christmas. Here you will find a park orientation film. You will also find some museum exhibits, a bookstore, and restrooms. Henry Hill is the site of the First Battle of Bull Run, which lasted a day. That occurred on July 21st, 1861, and it was the first major land battle of the American Civil War. It was a Confederate victory and one of the largest and bloodiest battles up to that point in U.S. history, with over 5,000 casualties. As I mentioned before, this is the location that Thomas J. Jackson earned his nickname Stonewall, and this occurred when he led a Virginia brigade into the battle at a key moment, helping Confederates hold a high ground position at the Henry Hill House. General Bernard B. told his men to take heart and look to Jackson standing there like a stone wall, and that is how he got his nickname. Henry Hill was an important site in both the First and Second Bull Run battles. The battle raged on the north side of the hill in predominantly open grass country, while the south side was relatively covered with trees. The hill received its name from Dr. Isaac Henry, who lived with his family in a house on that hill. On July 21st, 1861, during the battle, the house was inhabited by his widow and their two sons. The 85-year-old widow was bedridden and unable to leave the house, and was mortally wounded when a projectile of the Union artillery crashed through the bedroom wall and inflicted multiple injuries, from which she died later that day. She was the first civilian killed at First Bull Run. After the battle, the house was allegedly chipped into pieces and carried off by sightseers as souvenirs. The remains of the house were burned during the Second Battle of Manassas. The Henry House was rebuilt in 1870, partially overlapping the original house site. This battle also earned the nickname Picnic Battle because spectators showed up with sandwiches and opera glasses, expecting a victory for the Union and a swift end to the war that had begun 3 months before. Instead, the battle resulted in a bloody defeat for the Union and sent the picnickers scrambling for safety. The Second Battle of Bull Run, or Manassas, was fought on August 28th through the 30th of 1862 on some of the same fields, and this was one of the most thorough Confederate victories of the Civil War. It also had some of the highest casualties, numbering in over 22,000. Our second stop took us to Bronner Farm Interpretive Center, and this is where the opening phase of the Second Battle of Bull Run began on August 28th. The Bronner Farm lies in the western corner of the battlefield, and this battle began in the evening at 6:30 p.m. Things to check out while you're at the Bronner Farm are the museum that they have. They also have a ranger-led tour of the battlefields, and it takes about 45 minutes, and we did that, and that was really, really informative, and we really liked that a lot. You can also hike the Bronner Farm Loop Trail, and it is about 1.4 miles. Bronner Farm is also the site of archaeological finds dating back to when these battles went on. Archaeologists digging around the standing house have found military objects from the Second Battle of Manassas, and also artifacts left behind by the people who used to live on the farm. Archaeology has revealed the foundations of an earlier house partly underneath the one that currently stands on the site today, and this earlier house was probably the one that stood during the battle. The third and final spot that we visited while at Manassas National Battlefield Park was the Stone House. And this was probably actually my favorite spot to see while we were here. The Stone House served as a hospital for both the First Battle of Bull Run and the Second Battle of Bull Run. This two-story structure was built in 1848 and was originally the family home of a farmer. That all changed in 1861 when fighting broke out close to the house. It was peppered with shot and shell throughout the First Battle of Manassas. It didn't go unused though, because of its strong stone walls, the well it had in the yard, and the close proximity to the road back to Washington, D.C. It was an ideal site for a hospital. It was mostly under Confederate control during both battles. The red flag that you see hanging out the window was used to identify it as a hospital. Today, the red flag is used to let visitors know that the Stone House is open. I think the most sobering experience in this house, or the thing that made it the most real, that just kind of connected you to what had actually gone on in this house, were these carvings that were on the floorboards upstairs. Now, they had the upstairs cordoned off when we first got there, but we were the only ones there, and it was us and the volunteer. And after talking to the volunteer for a while, she actually allowed us to go upstairs and see these carvings. And I don't know if they normally have that blocked off, but like I said, they did the day we were there. But she let us go up, and I'm really glad she did, because again, it was a very sobering experience to see these carvings, because these carvings came from two privates, Charles E. Brem, who was 21, and Eugene P. Gear, who was only 17. They had both arrived at the Stone House after being wounded late in the battle, and that was the Second Battle of Bull Run, and were taken to this upstairs room. And at some point during their stay, both men carved their names into the floorboards of the room that they were staying in. Brem's carving appears as Brem, August 30th, and Gear, unable to complete his last name, left the carving EPGE. Brem survived the war and lived until 1909. Gear did not live to see the end of 1862. And so these carvings can still be seen today, and like I said, it's just kind of a really sobering reminder of what actually occurred and all the wounded and dead that passed through this hospital. And some were actually buried on the property. And this completed our time at Manassas National Battlefield Park. We didn't have a lot of time there, just a couple days. I wish we had had a little bit longer to check some more stuff out, but it was really enjoyable being able to see the stuff that we did get to see. If you're interested in Civil War history, this is definitely a great spot to check out. There was so much history, and it was just a really neat experience. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.